Hello, and welcome to Saturday Storytime and Craft. I'm Mr. Corey, and today we're going to be doing a fun yarn craft and reading this book called Extra Yarn. So let's get into our book, and then we'll do our craft for the day. So, like I said, our book today is Extra Yarn, and it is written by Mac Barnett and illustrated by John Klassen. And I really like his art. He's got cool art. On a cold afternoon in a cold little town, where everywhere you looked was either the white of snow or the black of soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. So she went home and knit herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars too. But they were still extra yarn. And when Annabelle and Mars went for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. But it turned out he was. And even after she had made a sweater for Nate and his dog, and for herself and Mars, she still had extra yarn. At school, Annabelle's classmates could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet!" shouted Mr. Norman. "Quiet, everyone! Annabelle, that sweater of yours is terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Then I'll knit one for everyone," said Annabelle. "So then they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." But it turned out she could, and she did, even for Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she knit sweaters for her mom and her dad, for Mr. Pendleton and Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Louise. She made sweaters for everyone except for Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters, or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "No sweaters for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat, and even then Annabelle still had extra yarn. So she made sweaters for all the dogs and all the cats and all the other animals too. Soon Annabelle will run out of yarn. But it turned out she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even wear sweaters. Look at all the stuff she covered with sweaters. Things began to change in that little town. News spread of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn, and people came to visit from all around the world to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. One day, an archduke who was very, very fond of clothes sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. "Little girl," said the archduke, "I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn, and I am willing to offer you $1,000,000. "No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The archduke's mustache twitched. "2,000,000, he said. Annabelle shook her head. "No, thanks." "10,000,000, shouted the archduke. "Take it or leave it." "Leave it," said Annabelle. "I won't sell the yarn." And she didn't. So that night, the archduke hired 3 robbers to break into Annabelle's house, and they stole the box, and they took it to the archduke, who set off across the snow and sailed over the sea. Back to his castle. The archduke put on his favorite song and sat in his best chair, and then he took out the box, and he lifted its lid, and he looked inside. Uh-oh. His mustache quivered, it shivered, it trembled. The Archduke hurled the box out of the window and shouted, "Little girl, I curse you with my family's curse. You will never be happy again." But oh, the box came back. It turned out she was. The end. So you should have all the materials you need for the craft in the kit. The glue, some yarn, the bowl, some wax paper, and here is, so I have a sheet with a couple different shapes. So you can use this as like your template for making your yarn shapes, or if you want, you can just use your imagination and make other shapes, or you can even make letters. So however you want to do it, it's up to you. For now, I'm gonna make a heart. So you're gonna take your paper, put it under the wax paper, and then you're gonna take some of your yarn, so you're gonna put that yarn in a bowl. But first you're gonna put some glue and water in the bowl. So after you mix the glue and water, then you can put the yarn in the bowl and soak it. You want to completely cover your yarn in the glue mixture. So after you completely covered it in the glue mixture, then you can take it out and you can take it bit by bit and arrange it to match the shape on your paper. All right. And then after you do that, you are going to let it dry. I found that it took about 2 days for it to like fully dry. So I made one in advance to show you guys what it looks like after it dries. So this one is one I made a couple days ago and it's fully dry. So once it's dry, you can peel it off the wax paper and it should still hold its shape. So yeah, so you have your yarn shape. So if you want, you can hang it up like an ornament. You can do whatever you want with it. So that is our craft for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and I will see you guys next Saturday. Have a good one.